Hello, everyone. I wanted to take a moment to thank you for taking time out of your day to join us on today's call. This is Brad Lewis with Premier Marketing, and today we're going to discuss the top reasons to add Prosperity Life Final Expense to your product portfolio. Prosperity's been making a big splash in the final expense market, and we're excited today to learn about the benefits and features of the product and why you want to add it to your portfolio. So on today's call, I have Candace Dawson. She's the Director of Agent Support for Prosperity Life Group, and Jack Heller. He's the Vice President for Prosperity Life Group. So I'll turn the call over to them, and we'll walk through the reasons why for Prosperity Life. If you do have any questions today, please type them into the chat box, and we will answer the questions at the end of the call. Jack, Candace?
Great. Well, thank you, Brad. Thank you, Brad. Appreciate the opportunity to speak to everybody, and I appreciate everybody taking time out of their busy Mondays. And for the Kansas City fans out there, congratulations. To the San Fran fans, well, there's next year. But being a Dallas Cowboy fan, it doesn't really help me. But certainly appreciate all that the Premier agents have done in the last few months of really not even just launching, but absolutely rocketing the final expense from Prosperity into your portfolio. I hope you've enjoyed the experience so far. And we're going to spend a little bit of time today trying to give you a few other reasons to sell it and just tell you some of the great things about the product. So you'll hear from myself, Jack Heller, and then Candace Dawson will also be joining us in a few minutes. Well, she's on already, but all right, Candace, go ahead.
Yep, thanks, Jack.
So.
All right, hopefully you guys can see our screen here. We're just going to take you through some product highlights, and then we'll cover kind of how to take an application from start to finish.
All right, so just a little bit about the company. Just one thing that confuses people a lot of times, they talk about Prosperity. And Prosperity, just so you all know, is not the insurance company. The insurance company that you're all selling through is SUSA. Prosperity is actually a life group. They own multiple companies, SUSA that I just mentioned. They own the Shenandoah Life Insurance Company, and they own SBLI out of New York. So we are in 49 states right now. We are an A- rated company with over $14 billion worth of life insurance in force, so plenty of stability for your customers out there. You know, probably the most important thing for you as an agent is the #1 bullet out there. We do offer all three products. We offer a level product, a graded plan, and a modified, also known as a return of premium. The big key on that is we will pay you the same commission no matter which of those products you sell and no matter what the age of the customer. So the policies are all good from 50 to 80. Your commissions never change on those, whether it's a 51-year-old on a level or an 80-year-old on a modified. Your commission level is what it is. What you'll find is we are extremely, extremely diabetic friendly. You know, it's funny when I go to some events that have multiple carriers out there, and every time the diabetic question comes up, whether it's my buddy Andrew from America or Lou or whoever, they all send the diabetics our way. We will cover almost all diabetics level. We don't care how much insulin they're taking. We don't care when they were diagnosed. They really need to have some really severe complications and neuropathy before we would even consider moving them up to a level plan, or a graded plan, I'm sorry. Smoker rates. Our smoker rates are not tobacco rates. They're not nicotine rates. They are a cigarette rate. So when you look at the application, the very first question, have you smoked cigarettes in the last 12 months? If the answer to that question is no, and by answering it no does not mean if they smoke cigars on the golf course, they dip, they chew, they cannabis, they vape, none of those make them a smoker. Smokers are strictly cigarettes in the last 12 months. Okay, we do offer true Social Security billing, which means really importantly, for instance, February 1st this week was on a Saturday. That means those people, if their Social Security deposit date is the 1st of the month, they would have received their money on the 31st or Friday. We would go in and take the money on Friday. We are tied directly to the Social Security calendar. As most of you know, if they got their money on Saturday the 1st, by today, you know, the 3rd, most of that money's gone. And if we tried to deposit or get the money today, there wouldn't be anything left there. The SUSA plan is available in 45 states. As I said, we're available in 49 states, but the SUSA plan is in 45. We are not in Connecticut, Montana, New Hampshire. Actually, that would be 44. Little typo there. North Dakota or South Dakota or New York. We do expect to be in every one of these states with the exception of New York sometime later this year. Okay, if you do sell in New York, that would be our Golden Promise plan, and that is available today. But again, you'd have to be a New York resident or sell in the state. They don't take phone apps in New York at all. Okay, we do pay commissions as often as daily with a direct deposit, and we have an instant decision e-app. I hope a lot of you have had the opportunity to use our e-app. We think it's one of the slickest ones out there. There's no third-party call required, and you'll get an instant decision on your application right then and there. So we have an agent portal, which goes through everything from your quoting to your commission statements, policy information, marketing material, reporting tools are all in one centrally located place for you. So again, that tries to make things as easy as possible for you. We do have a 10% cash bonus program. How does that work? Well, it was running last year. The flyers will be out hopefully sometime the next day or two, but we are continuing that program for 2020. The first period starts February 1st, or actually started 2 days ago. What you need to do to qualify for that bonus is you need to write $20,000 in settled or paid premium, and then that premium needs to stay on the books through the free look period. If you do that, we will go all the way back to $1 and pay you a 10% bonus, i.e. you do $25,000, you'd get a $200 or $2,500 bonus. The largest one looks like we'll be paying out for the period that's just ending is just over $140,000 the person wrote in the quarter, so they'll be getting a $14,000 and change bonus check. Now, as an added incentive for the Premier agents only, we are lowering for the first period, the first quarter only, the $20,000 threshold down to $10,000 to help you all qualify for that and get you all up and running on Prosperity's final expense plan. So we're super excited about that. We hope you are. I know you guys got a great trip coming up in April, and certainly it'd be great to have some extra spending cash, knowing that you qualify for that bonus in order to enjoy that trip even more. So we do have that available for you, and we are really excited about it. A little bit about the program. We do try to make things as simple as possible. As I mentioned earlier, our ages are 50 to 80. We don't care, again, if it's a level plan, a graded plan, or a modified / return to premium plan. They're all 50 to 80. They all expire at 121. The accidental death benefit rider expires at age 75. Face amounts are $1,500 to $35,000 on all the plans. As I mentioned, we do have a smoker rate, but that is cigarettes only, so it's really not a tobacco or non-tobacco. It is cigarettes only, and then male and female. Your premiums are based on age, gender, and smoking class. They are guaranteed for life. And we do take EFT, which is about 98% of what we get, and we strongly recommend an EFT. We will take a direct express or a debit card. However, we will not advance on either of those if you do use those. We have a direct bill available, but please don't use it. It really is the worst persistency that you'll ever have. We leave it out there just in case somebody wants to pay an annual premium. We get a few of those, but otherwise, the quarterly and the semi-annual and direct bill are just atrocious persistency. We do have a policy fee. The policy fee is $40. It is commissionable to y'all, so that's great to know. Our underwriting is really pretty simple. Whether you do a phone app or whether you do a e-app or even a paper app, and Candace will go in all the different ways that you can send in an application. We have our health questions. We go through the MIB. We will run a prescription drug check on the people. And all this will be happening behind the scenes. When that's done, you will get an instant decision on the policy, whether it's a phone or an e-app, in order so you know that the policy is going to be accepted and at what level. We have an accelerated death benefit feature, not available if there's anybody on the phone in California, coverage for terminal illness, and then the accidental death rider available on all the plans. And I said it does expire at age 75. This little chart here just is one thing I really want to point out. We've covered pretty much everything on here. Actually, two things I want to point out. First of all, if you look at the accelerated death benefit feature, we only go up to 50%. I know you have some companies that go to 80, 90, 95% on a level plan. We balance that out. We only do 50% on the level, but we do offer it on the graded and the modified plan as well. On the graded plan, it's a typical 30-70, 30% death benefit first year, 70% second year, and then full face amount starting year 3. If they were to die accidentally, it would cover 100% starting day 1. On the modified or the return of premium, we are different and unique when it comes to this plan. Most companies out there, and just so I can do the math in my head, if they were to offer a return of premium and the person had, let's say, $100 a month premium, they died in the second month, most companies out there would give them their $200 back plus 10% or $220. Prosperity tries to make it a little bit easier for the customer and a little bit easier for you. We actually annualize the premium when they make their first payment. So on that same $100 example, person dying in the second month, we would take 100 times 12 or $1,200. We would add the 10% to that, or another $120, and we would send your customer $1,320 back, although in this example, they had only paid us $200. So definitely something unique in the industry. I don't know any other company that does that. And the second year, that would actually be a 231% annualized basis. Again, additional dollars for your customer. Third year's full face amount. And again, if they die accidentally on the modified plan in the first 2 years, we would pay 100% of the face amount. So a little bit different, a little added incentive, makes it a little easier to sell a modified plan. So the application is really pretty simple. It's the same one that, very similar to what you see with other companies out there. The first 6 questions are your automatic disqualifiers. You then move into your modified part of the plan, your graded part of the plan, and if they answer all those questions no, they would qualify for a level, provided they were telling us accurate and truthful information on that plan. So we'll just take a quick look at the application. We're not going to spend much time on it. I know your time is valuable, so we won't spend much time here. But just so you know real quick, if you're looking at your screen, you can see the very first question, as I mentioned, have you smoked cigarettes in the past 12 months? You then have your height and weight chart. You then have your disqualifying questions, and I think you'll take a look at those and see that they are pretty much the same ones you'll see on everybody's application in a fully underwritten plan. So we can skip right to the next page into Part B. Part B, I want to point out, in the past 2 years, has the proposed insured been diagnosed or received treatment from a member of the medical profession or been hospitalized for any of the following: the use of alcohol or drugs. So if they have been hospitalized in 2 years for that, they would qualify for a modified. Here's your complications of diabetes, such as diabetic coma, insulin shock, or had an amputation due to complications of any disease. Your heart attack questions in the past 2 years would fall into here. We then throw in a 3-year question just to make sure that you're paying attention on cancer. And then we go back to a 2-year, has the person been convicted of reckless driving or DUI more than once in the last 2 years, so twice or more is what the answer is you're looking for. And then you get to your last section, which is your Part C. These are forever questions, Parkinson's disease, lupus, sickle cell disease, cirrhosis stage A or B of the liver, chronic hepatitis or liver disorder, kidney failure, kidney disease, COPD, including emphysema, black lung disease or tuberculosis, and bipolar, schizophrenia, or been hospitalized in the last 2 years for any mental or nervous disorders. So if they answer any of those yes, they would qualify for the graded plan. Hopefully they've answered everything in A, B, and C no, and then they qualify for level. One thing I do want to point out, you will never get a call from us saying, why did you submit so many graded or so many modified plans? We believe those plans are priced properly for the company. We believe those are priced properly for your customer to qualify for when they can't qualify for something else. So we have no issue with how much graded or modified you send us. We like it, and hopefully you will too. Obviously the premiums are higher, but you're making the same commission rate, so you'll make more money for every graded or modified plan than you would for a level plan. Okay. Did I lose you there? Hopefully.
All right.
I think we. Okay. Janice, why don't you take over?
Thank you, Jack, for going over the details of the product and how the product itself works. What I'd like to spend a few minutes doing is to show you how our awesome instant decision e-application process works. We think this will be your primary go-to sales tool. You know, and then as a backup, because we don't offer the e-app in every single state that we sell in, and sometimes, you know, you may not have an internet connection at the point of sale, so we do still offer the paper application process. So let's take a look at both of these. So our e-application actually is powered by Aptical, who also does our telephone interviews if you're doing a paper app. So they actually provide the decision at the point of sale, no matter which application method that you choose. They have a web-based portal that you can access from your laptop or your tablet. Most agents we know are selling with a tablet or an iPad in the field, and this works great on those. The big you know, thing I want to mention here is that you need to download Google Chrome. So most iPads, of course, will default to Safari as the preferred browser, so you'll need to actually install the Google Chrome browser in order to access the Aptical e-app, and make sure that it opens in that Chrome browser. Otherwise, you're going to experience some hiccups and some errors, and that usually is what is required to get around those. So just make sure you're using Google Chrome and that your app, your iPad or tablet has been fully updated with the latest versions of software, because that can also cause some technical difficulties along the way. So just make sure everything's up to date. Just want to point out here that this is not supported from your smartphone. So you have to have a good full-size tablet or laptop computer is absolutely fine as well. So once you get your credentials, and they'll be emailed to you with your welcome email. They'll be right there. There'll be a link, and your login and password information will be provided as soon as your writing number is assigned. This will take you directly into Aptical's portal, where you'll begin the e-application. The application menu at the top has a couple of drop-down box options, and one of those says New Application. So that's where you'll start. You'll fill in the company name, which we are Prosperity Life-SUSA, as Jack mentioned. The product is going to be the new Vista e-app, and then you'll select which state you're selling in. If you don't see your state listed here on the drop-down box of options, that means that we don't have the e-application available in that particular state. But I think we have almost every single state now, so you hopefully won't run into that as a problem. From there, it'll take you right into the rate calculator. So if you haven't already run the quote from the agent back office portal, you can go ahead and do that first. So the quoting tool will walk through all the demographic information. Again, it's going to populate the company name, the new Vista e-app, and the state that you're selling in. You'll fill in the client's date of birth or their age, either or, their gender, smoker status, and again, that's cigarettes only, their payment term, face amount, or premium amount, whichever is easier to calculate from, and whether or not they want to select the accidental death benefit rider. Just keep in mind that the box is asking for the equivalent of the face amount, so just make sure that the two numbers match, face amount and accidental death benefit rider, if they're taking that. And then from there, you'll click Calculate, and the system is going to give you 3 results, because at this point, we don't know necessarily which products that you're your client is going to qualify for. So after you've vetted those questions with them from the application, you'll select whether they're going to qualify for level, graded, or modified. And then from there, you'll hit done, and then it'll take you right into the application questions. The first thing, and it's 100% optional, is the Go Green option. What this does is it allows your client to receive their policy documents through a secure portal online versus actually getting their policy packets in the mail. This is really nice if they're tech savvy enough to want to go in and just download a copy. They can email these to their beneficiaries, much simpler than having big thick multiple paper copies mailed to them if they need them for their beneficiaries to keep on hand. So this is a really nice option. It's 100% optional. Of course, they'll need to have an email address and access to a computer to use it. Next is pretty much everything from page 1 of the paper app, just all of their, personal information, name, address, and social security number, date of birth. I will mention a couple of things here. Keep in mind that Prosperity will only cover applicants who have a social security number. If they do not have a social security number or they're not a U.S. Citizen or legal permanent resident, they will not qualify for this plan. This screen will actually go ahead and collect the height and weight for you as well. From here, it's going to ask them to sign the HIPAA authorization. They can click on you'll click on the blue button that says sign, and then you can just tap the screen to insert their signature. It uses HelloSign, which functions exactly the same as DocuSign if you've ever used that. So you'll click the blue Get Started button, and then you'll just tap the screen to sign, and then they can either choose to draw in their signature with their finger if they're using an iPad, or they can type it in, and it'll just populate a little pre-filled signature for them. They'll click I agree, and then it'll take you right into those health questions. So again, Jack has already covered what these health questions look like. So just understand that you'll get 3 separate sections, Part A, Part B, and Part C. Everything in Part A is a knockout. So if you answer any of these questions yes, you're going to get a pop-up that says the client does not qualify for this particular plan. So at that point, you'd want to pivot to a different carrier to find them some coverage. After you've answered all of the health questions, you're almost finished. So at this point, just make sure that everything is accurate, because once you click OK and run the underwriting service process, it will not let you go back and make any edits. So you want to just double check that everything is keyed in perfectly. Name, address, date of birth, all that needs to be 100% accurate, because you cannot make any changes beyond this point. So you'll click OK, and then you're going to, it says it'll take 1 to 2 minutes to complete, but generally we see that results are a little bit quicker than that, so probably more like 45 seconds. So it is going to tell you if what the decision was. So hopefully it's going to say that your client was approved for level or approved for graded, whatever it was they applied for. However, at times, a decision may not be able to be rendered, and this is pretty rare, but keep in mind that it is trying to connect to multiple data points. So MIB, Script Check, all these are different providers, and if any one of those providers is having an outage, you will get this notice that says, the services cannot be returned, and please try again later. So if that happens, just make sure you click stop, put the application in pending, and then you can give it maybe 5 minutes at the most, and then typically everything's up and running again. So like I said, that's pretty rare, but from time to time you might see that happen. So just give it a couple minutes and then try it again. But hopefully you will get your level decision. It's going to ask you to confirm the face amount and the premium amount. So just double check and make sure that's exactly what you were expecting. Now, if by chance they found some records in MIB or Script Check, that would rate them up to the next plan. So if they applied for level, but they only qualify for the graded or modified based on some results found in their medical history, it would actually give you the option here to go back to the rate calculator and select the plan that they qualified for. So you can do that by going, it'll take you right back to the rate calculator. You make the appropriate changes and click save, and then you can continue forward with that revised premium amount and plan type. It also gives you the option to go in and reduce the face amount if that happens to help meet their budget. So all that can be done here at the point of sale. There would not be any amendments required after the sale. So this makes it a really clean and paperless process. From here, it's going to ask you to enter in their beneficiary information. It's going to give you options for up to 3 primary beneficiaries and up to 3 contingent beneficiaries. If they want to add more later, that's entirely fine. You can just, have them contact customer service after the policy is issued, or you can contact on their behalf for additional beneficiary forms. So it's going to lastly just confirm everything once again to make sure that the plan type, the face amount, and the premium amounts are correct, and then it's going to take you into the billing information. So again, most cases are going to be the monthly billing cycle or premium mode. And then from here, you'll select whether they're a checking or savings account, for EFT bank draft. We do have that Direct Express MasterCard option or debit card, or, the Bill Direct is still an option there, but again, we don't recommend that you select that. If there's a separate payor or an owner for this, or somebody else is going to be making the payments, it'll let you enter in the information for that person here. But a few things to note. So it's going to collect all the account holders' information. If your client is being set up on Social Security billing, it's actually going to look at the date of birth for the account holder. So if it's a husband and wife situation and it's the husband's bank account, just understand that even on the wife's policy, it's going to be looking, if you're setting it up on a second, third, fourth Wednesday billing, it's going to look at the account holder's date of birth to figure out which Wednesday is supposed to be billed. So just keep that in mind. It wants the account holder's name. All this will transfer over to a PDF copy of a payment form, so you can review it before you, actually click submit, and just make sure everything looks accurate. A few things to note here. We don't allow any future payments, so that first draft has to be within 35 days of the application date. So any further than that, and you'll get a note back from new business letting you know that that's too far out. And actually, the e-application itself will stop you from that. But if you were doing paper app, of course, that's too manual. But so 35 days to make that first payment. We have to have the policy in force in the first 35 days, or it will be withdrawn. We can draft on the same day of each month. So again, first or third, a lot of Social Security recipients are doing first and third, or the particular Wednesday, but really any day between the 1st and the 28th is okay for us to draft. Some of your clients might be younger and still working, so they might want to pick, the 15th of the month or whatever the case is. Just know that we cannot draft on the 29th, 30th, or 31st of the month for obvious reasons. We can draft via, like we said, EFT, debit card. So if it's a debit card, we just want to note here, it has to be tied to a bank account. So it has to be like a debit MasterCard, debit Visa card, but it does have to be tied to a checking or savings account in order to work. And just please double check your banking information. This is the #1 reason that payments get rejected that first time around, is because we just didn't get the correct info on the payment form. From here, you're almost finished. So this is the last page. You'll just sign off that everything was filled accurately and honestly. It will pre-fill, Aptical's web portal will pre-fill your information based on how it's loaded into Aptical. So just make sure it's accurate. Make sure your agent number looks right, your email address looks right, phone number is correct. And any final comments that you might have for the new business team can go in that comments box at the end. From there, you'll just click next, and it's going to populate the signatures, the final signatures to collect. This is where I said you can review a PDF copy of the entire application and payment forms. Just make sure you review carefully before you sign off. Any party to the application will be prompted to sign, and the little box at the top will tell you whose turn it is to sign. So it'll tell you who's in line next for the signatures. So just click the prompts, and it'll walk you through each signature requirement. And at this point, you're not done until you click finish. So you will get a message after you finish and submit this application that it has been sent to Prosperity. If you don't get that message, you may want to log back in and just make sure it says closed complete. That means it's finished. If you forget this last step, Prosperity will not receive your application. So please, please, please make sure you hit finish. So what happens next? There is absolutely nothing that you need to have printed out and signed with a wet signature. Everything gets sent electronically to us. the next day. So if you don't see it in your agent portal immediately, just understand that it actually takes 2 business days to show up in your agent portal, because it takes 1 business day for Prosperity's home office to receive it, and then on the following business day, we push it out to your agent portal so you can see the progress of it. If it's approved, the owner will receive copies of the signed application when the policy is issued. So we mail the policy packet at issue to the customer unless you tell us otherwise. So again, back to that comments box, if you're somebody who wants to hand deliver your policies, please make sure you notate that before submitting. If they elect to go green, they'll get an email notification letting them know when their documents are ready. If you ever need to go back and reopen a pending application, maybe you couldn't finish it out at the same time for whatever reason, technical difficulties or other, you would just need to go back to your applications menu. There's a search option. In this, you'll just need to fill in at least one piece of information. So maybe that's the client's last name, their last 4 of their social. You can even just key in the company name, Prosperity Life-SUSA, and hit search, and you'll get multiple search options. But if you don't fill in at least one of those filter boxes, you will not get any options. From there, you can just double click on the application line item. Just double click it, that'll open it right back up, or just tap on it and click the button that says conduct. So hopefully all of you will utilize that e-application. It definitely makes things a lot easier. You can't miss any signatures. So just a much cleaner processing option. But if you're in a position where that's just not an option for you, you can still do a paper application. We have these out on the agent portal. You can just download and print them off, or print off the order form, and we can mail you copies. We're happy to do that. So you'll fill in the paper application in its entirety, and then you'll do the phone call to Aptical. Make sure they have a copy of their ID. We do use LexisNexis to run an identity check on every application. So even with an e-application, if you ever get a notice that say the ID check has failed, you'll want to make sure you get a copy, take a picture of their photo ID, because new business will be asking for that if the ID check failed through LexisNexis. So make sure you get that at the point of sale. You'll call Aptical. Their phone number is printed here. It's also in your agent guide. It's also in all of the training materials that are posted to our website, so you can find this number pretty easily. You'll press 1 for the client interview. They'll go through just basic personal information. They'll just confirm their spelling of their name, date of birth, and things like that, and then they'll go right into the health questions. So yes or no, we ask that the agent does not interfere. Do not, interject while the customer is answering the questions. They will give you the decision at the point of sale. So after the conclusion of the interview, they'll give you a reference number to put on your application. Just make sure that you jot that down in the special request, or it's like a little note section. I think it's on page 6, before you fax or email that into new business. And also I want to note here that even if the client gets declined, or even if they just choose not to take the policy for whatever reason, you still have to send that paper application with all their signatures into new business within 7 days. Our underwriting team does get reports of all the phone interviews done, so if they don't see your application on file, they will be reaching out to you to obtain that. Some other additional information. This training is posted to our agent portal, so you can find a copy of this at any time if you want to review it. And here is our agent support contact information. We are on Eastern time, so we are Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern time. You can call us at this number. Feel free to leave a message. If you ever have to leave a message, we generally will return your call within just a few minutes. Just means that everybody else is on the phone at the same time. So give us just a few minutes and we'll call you right back. Or you can shoot us an email at agentcare@prosperitylife.com. And with that, Brad, I'm going to give it back over to you.
Perfect. Thank you, Candace and Jack. Appreciate you guys running through all the information on Prosperity Life and why it's such a good fit for a lot of our agents that are working with you guys right now. It has been a really successful launch for us. Really, Prosperity as a whole put together not only a product, but a process and support staff that's very agent friendly and client friendly, and it's just made the whole process very enjoyable. real quick here, I want to go to a few questions that we have today. If you have any questions, make sure you chat them into the chat box, and we'll get to those. But I'm just going to read off a few of the questions that we have so far and let you guys answer those, and make sure we get everybody's questions answered. So the first question is from Don. Don would like to know how long it takes to pay a death claim for you guys.
Well, that's a more complicated question than it sounds, because obviously if the death claim happens in the first 2 years, you always run into the potential contestability part of it, which slows it down dramatically. If it's not contestable or it's beyond 2 years, our goal is to pay them within 1 week of receiving the death certificate.
Okay, perfect. Then the second question is from James. James just wanted to know, where does he find his writing number? What communication does that come out in?
Candace, you want to handle that one?
That is actually in the that's in the welcome email. So just it's like the very first sentence of the welcome email. So if you've already completed and submitted your contract and it's been it's been approved, then we send you an email that says "Welcome to Prosperity Life" in the subject line. It also has your name in the subject line, and then the very first sentence contains your agent number. It will start with the letter B, like boy.
Okay, perfect. And I know one of the other questions here is as far as the length of time for completing the application and going through the whole process. I know that's really key in the selling final expense for a lot of our agents and their clients, because time's very important. Do you have an estimate of how long it would take to get through the application process as well as the underwriting part of it?
Yeah, if you're doing an
the e-application.
Go ahead, Candace. You're fine.
The e-application is generally 10 minutes or less. So again, just depends on how fast the agent types. The e-application itself does utilize the Google services, so it'll help you and start pre-filling as you start typing in like addresses and things like that. It'll help you by giving you a drop-down box of options, and those are all just pulled from Google. So it's very quick, but again, it's going to depend on the individual agent and how quick they are on their iPad. Perfect. I know that's very important to a lot of producers out there, and as well as the clients as well. Time's very sensitive. Ann has a question on as far as getting appointed with and contracted. Yep, go ahead.
Hey, Brad, could I interrupt you for 1 second? It's Jack. I just want to reaffirm with everybody that our e-app is a true instant decision e-app. I know there's other companies out there that have an instant decision and you're not receiving, or an e-app that they call an instant decision, but they still call your customer back, or you still don't get an actual answer at the time. Ours is a true instant decision with no third-party call required.
That's a great benefit. Thanks for pointing that out, Jack.
Yep.
As far as getting contracted and set up, Candace, this is a question for you. Once the agent submits their contracting paperwork, how quick would they be able to write business?
So that will depend on whether they're writing in what we consider a just-in-time state or a pre-appointment state. So there's a handful of states, Georgia, Louisiana, Pennsylvania, to name a couple, that require a pre-appointment. Florida is also one of them. So what that means is we would actually pull their background and credit check upon submission of the contract request. So once that, if you're writing in those particular states, or if you request those particular states, we have to do all that up front. So normal processing is about 5 to 7 business days on those states. But if you're writing outside of those pre-appointment states in a just-in-time state, usually an agent will get their writing number within 24 hours, maybe 2 days if they're really backed up, but 24 to 48 hours if they're just in time. And what happens then is we do run a vector check. We do that up front regardless. So, that could, sway it one way or the other, but it will at least let you know pretty quickly whether it's been requested or not. You'll get an email saying, thanks for submitting your contract. Please watch for your next welcome email. So if it's all just-in-time states, they'll get your writing number probably a day or two, and then submit an application. And then at that point, when we get the new application in-house, we have to run the background and credit check. So it's a few days to process those things. It's about 5 business days. So your first application might take a little bit of extra time, but the whole process, regardless, is about a week to a week and a half. It's just the timing of when that occurs can depend on what states you select.
Perfect. Thank you. And I will say you guys have one of the easiest contracting processes. What we do is we actually send you a link, send the agents a link from our office, and it's electronic contracting, and it works really slick. It's really fast, easy process on that end as well. So it looks like that is all the questions that we have so far. So I'll just go ahead and wrap up. The phone number's displayed on the screen, so if you have any questions, I'd encourage you to reach out and talk to Tom, Nate, Rick, or Yanni today and get set up with Prosperity Life. They've just been a pleasure to work with, a great company, great product, and great process. So we feel like we have a really great product for you to add to your portfolio. Give us a call at Premier at 800-365-8208, and we'd be happy to help. Thanks, Jack and Candace.
Thank
you, Brad.
Brad.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care, everyone.